Once you start lying to the public, you have to keep lying. It never ends. Haruki Murakami. Welcome back to the channel. Now that I've shown you physical evidence of the mind control they used for years on the retail investor, I want you to notice how the wealthy remain on one accord, keeping you confused. They don't respect you, and they want total dominion over your life and finances. Now let's watch as they flip the script and start to change the narrative and the possibilities of what this tech can and will become.
Now, everybody who's promoted this stuff is looking pretty funny. And the public companies that jumped on crypto as an actual currency seem to have wasted a lot of time and money. In the pain parade, I start with crypto because I think that there was a huge amount of capital being used to prop up Bitcoin at 20,000, and the fingers in the dike are now looking mighty tired. Now, again, every one of the public companies are involved. I don't blame them. There was a lot of public demand. That's what they wanted. They're just doing what the public wants. But maybe the public needs to know better. That's what I'm trying to do. Not criticize the companies, but just make it so that you know better. Again, the faith of the American people shocked. Just shocked. I mean, I think that crypto, I sold my crypto. I announced everything on TV, what I did with crypto. But I would not touch crypto in a million years because I wouldn't trust the deposit bank.
And you're making no distinction between centralized, decentralized.
They fought regulation. They didn't want regulation, and you don't have regulation. So if you have your money in any of those, look, I'm not calling you an idiot. I'm just saying you're using a lot of blind faith. And I like to have my money at JP Morgan, and I check on Monday to see whether my balance is there or it's there. It feels good. Try getting your money out. When I had money, I'm not going to mention the firm that I had my money in, but it was a fight to get the money out. A fight. And I think that everybody who owns these various coins, Solana, Litecoin, I do think you're an idiot. Okay? I did not go to college to get stupid. These people who own these things should not own them. They shouldn't own them. I want to discuss Bitcoin. Really, I do. Not to the detriment of stocks, but in addition to stocks. I come to praise Bitcoin, not bury it. First, let's dispel the idea that I've never believed in Bitcoin. Now, if you search YouTube, you can see that I first bought Bitcoin on September 15, 2020, when it was at just over $10,000. So no, top caller me? No, not here. Oh, and for the record, back in April 2021, I decided to participate in an auction to buy the NFT for the iconic Is God Dead Time magazine cover from April 8th of 1996, even though I had no idea what a fungible token was, let alone a non-fungible one. The transaction had to be done in Ethereum, so I dutifully bought an undisclosed amount of Ethereum to try to win. I lost the auction, but I forgot to sell the Ethereum. And when I discovered the error, it had appreciated so mightily that I was able to cash out and buy a large farm in an undisclosed location. So you may think I'm calling the top by celebrating Bitcoin at $100,000. I say, au contraire, mon frère. I've been recommending it for years, just like I've been bragging about getting lucky in Ethereum. I call it brag because it's better to be lucky than good. Still, I found myself struggling to feel relevant this morning while talking to my partner, David Faber. We were right over there. So this is where I stood. You probably don't realize it. I was right over there, okay? I was on Squawk on the Street, and I was really down. I was glum, chum. You know what I was thinking? I was thinking, like, wow, wait a second. Am I ever relevant? Focusing on stocks like Signet Jewelers down over 11% today, or Kroger up 1%, when there was crypto money being given away by President-elect Trump. On July 27th, he told you that the federal government would go all in on Bitcoin if he won. Back then, Bitcoin stood a little less than 70 G's. Trump promised to establish a strategic Bitcoin reserve and make America the crypto capital of the world. If Bitcoin were a stock and you had conviction Trump would triumph, it was an easy win, right? His endorsement was ironclad. As he said during that fabled Nashville speech, quote, "If crypto was going to define the future, I wanted it to be mined, minted, and made in the USA," end quote. Whether or not you think that's good policy, clearly it's good for people who own crypto. Let's belabor the strategic Bitcoin reserve thing for a moment. While in Nashville, Trump met with the biggest crypto mining firm execs to talk about this reserve. If this were oil and he met with the biggest oil execs, promised them he'd build a reserve and then shared his plan with the public before he did it, well, you would want to bet on oil with a Trump victory. You could have bought Bitcoin at around 68,000 in July, get roughly 100,000 today. Talk about fungible. But then it hit me. Yesterday, at my colleague Andrew Ross Sorkin's Steelbook conference, I heard Fed Chief Jay Powell talk about how he believes people are buying Bitcoin as a store of value, like gold, because there's not much transaction done in Bitcoin. I've always endorsed keeping up to 10% of your portfolio in gold as a kind of insurance against the world's lunacy. But for years now, I've also been saying Bitcoin's a fine alternative to gold for that 10% position. Why not? I think the federal budget deficit is at impossible levels. I don't be wedded to a currency backed by the full faith and credit of a country that owes $36 trillion.
The elites knew the way to scare off retail is to inflate the price of everyday goods, rent, and basic needs, so you had no extra money to invest. Or if you had risk assets, you were forced to sell them at a loss. They made the risk asset market full of uncertainty through numerous crashes, pullbacks, exchange collapses, and FUD campaigns. Then they paid the legacy media to promote fear through running the Silk Road narrative or the Mt. Gox collapse. Then they hired crypto influencers who you thought had an organic beginning to promote timing the market, buying meme coins, and high leverage trading instead of holding, accumulating assets that have real world utility.
Related to cryptocurrencies, I'm a big believer in the potential of what a cryptocurrency can do. You see huge opportunities in it, but what we're talking about today, it's really much more of a speculative. People are speculating on it. But most importantly, what I think about most of these cryptocurrencies, it just identifies how much money laundering there is being done in the world, how much people are trying to move currencies from one place to another. So I actually believe you're seeing the demand for it. But let's be clear, if we created a true global digital currency, I hate the word crypto, a digitized currency, then then you would not have money laundering anymore. You would have everything understood, everything would be flowing through, everything would be identified. You could see all the application, except I'm horrified on one point. How do we preserve the system from cyber problems? Because if the whole world is using this one network for financial transaction, it presents a lot of systemic risk.
Is it time yet for BlackRock to either trade in digital assets or digital virtual currencies, if you prefer, or to create a product for your clients?
We're not hearing any demand from any of our clients other than maybe some speculative stuff. We're being asked that question, but it's more of like a venture capital type of interchange. But we're not hearing clients saying we want to use this as an asset class. No,
It's not an institution, I think.
I'm encouraged about the narrative. It may become a great asset class, and I do believe this could become a great asset class, cryptocurrency. I don't believe it's a substitute for currencies. I think we're going to have cryptocurrencies of dollars, cryptocurrencies of other currencies. But I don't believe we should be focused. We should think about crypto as a substitute of currency. But I am fascinated by it as an asset class. I am still watching. I will tell you of our investors worldwide, we don't have that much inquiry on it. We are investing in it. Rick Reeder's been on your show talking about things that we are doing in it, and we are studying it. We've made money on it, but I'm not here to tell you that we are seeing broad-based interest by institutions worldwide. And I like that. Say that most of what we do is a reflection of what we are hearing from our clients. So I would clearly tell you worldwide. Go on, Andrew.
What you're saying, what you're saying though, I think is very, very important. And I just want to put a fine point on it because
Please.
you're speaking to companies all over the world and you're saying now that you don't believe that companies have a unique interest in this. They're not saying, hey, Larry, we're thinking about how we can get exposure for our balance sheet. Do you have a product? Can you do something? Are you thinking about creating a product for them? And you said, speak directly to that, because, by the way, that is the narrative. It's the narrative around, frankly, even the valuations of the Coinbases of the world, in part because there's a view institutional money is desperate to be part of this. And you're saying the opposite.
Well, I'm not. We are not having those conversations, and maybe they're talking to somebody else. So I'm not. I don't want to suggest that we have perfect information, but our broad-based client relationships we've had very little interconnectivity on the conversation on crypto, other than a fascination. I could tell you, it is the amount of conversations we're having on climate risk and how they should navigate portfolios is a major component of the conversation. The conversations about our deficits and the conversations we're now having on inflation risk is far more dominant with our clients worldwide than the whole conversation about crypto.
You have been a leader in willing to embrace crypto. You have made it so that people can be in Bitcoin. We hear that you are thinking about Ethereum. These are incredible things. Now BlackRock is not known as a gunslinger by any means, so you obviously must believe that this may be as an alternative. Is this an alternative in order to be able, because of a deficit, maybe something long term people should have?
Absolutely. As you know, I was a skeptic.
Yes.
I was a proud skeptic. And I studied it, learned about it, and I came away saying, okay, my opinion 5 years ago was wrong. Here's my opinion today. This is what I believe in today. I believe the opportunity today. I believe Bitcoin is legitimate. I'm not trying to say there's not misuses like everything else, but it is a legitimate financial instrument that allows you to have maybe uncorrelated, non-correlated type of returns. I believe it is an instrument that you invest in when you're more frightened, though. It is an instrument when you believe that countries are debasing their currency, debasing their currency by excess deficits, and some countries are. I believe we have countries where you're frightened of your everyday existence, and if you have an opportunity to invest in something that is outside your country's control, then you can have more financial control. And so I'm a major believer that there is a role for Bitcoin in portfolios. I believe you're going to see that as one of the asset classes that we all look at. I look at it as digital gold, as I said before, and I do believe there's a real need for everyone to look at it as one alternative to, I would say, the optimism that I have in the world. If you want to hedge hope, Bitcoin is not an instrument for hope unless you're hopeful you're going to make a lot of money on it. But I look at it as a vehicle in which you're expressing your financial acumen in something that you're more frightened of the world, you're more frightened of your existence. And I believe there's a great industrial use for it. And I think a lot of people are missing that.
I couldn't agree more. I changed my mind about what you did.